Hi, I'm Michael Smith. At Berkeley College, we're committed to educating the public about the importance of higher education and its impact on our communities. That's why we're proud to support the important educational programming produced by the CAUCUS Educational Corporation and their partners in public television.
Taking kids out of the classroom and into the great outdoors next on CAUCUS New Jersey.
Funding for this edition of CAUCUS New Jersey has been provided by the PNC Foundation, which supports early childhood education through Grow Up Great, a multi-year initiative to help prepare children from birth to age 5 for success in school and life. The Turl Fund, supporting Right from the Start NJ, the New Jersey Education Association, Berkeley College. Choose New Jersey. Our mission is attracting companies to the Garden State. The law firm of GIBBONS, PC, and by Verizon. Promotional support provided by NJ.com, Small News, Big News, True Jersey. And by New Jersey Monthly, the magazine of the Garden State, available at newsstands.
Welcome to CAUCUS. I'm Steve Audubon. So what exactly is outdoor education in an outdoor classroom? And how can it help students learn and, in fact, grow up great? In the studio to talk about it, we have a panel of experts. First, Allison Mulch, project coordinator for Eco Schools USA in New Jersey at the New Jersey Audubon. John Jones is a teacher at Alder Avenue Middle School in Egg Harbor Township. Marc Rogoff is environmental education specialist for the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. Finally, Laura Rotella, education manager at the Center for Family Resources. I want to thank you all for joining us, talking about outdoor classrooms, outdoor education. You can see a series of websites that come up throughout this program, valuable information, follow it up. Let me start with you, Allison. Define outdoor education, outdoor classrooms.
This is when the students go outdoors for all their learning. They can be engaged. They're trying to solve for a problem using the outdoors. It's using all of their senses. It doesn't have to be formal with actual chairs outside. This can be using just a tree. It can be a meadow. It can be a pond. It can be the grass outside.
But how's that learning?
Because you can, even with engineering. Okay, so with the New Jersey Student Learning Standards for Science, there's a lot of engineering ideas there. Students can design. There's a lot of paved surfaces in our cities, for example.
Clearly.
Okay.
So, by the way, this can happen urban, suburban, rural area, it doesn't matter. Outdoor education, outdoor learning. Go ahead.
Right. So with all this impervious surface that the water can't drain into, is running and it's creating issues down the stream, okay? So students can come up with ways to stop that water from running out and gathering all the contaminants on its way out. They can do cleanups, they can plant rain gardens. That's going to increase the biodiversity. The root structure is going to help take some of that water away. This is all good learning, and it's engineering design. So they can take a look outside, and they can figure, where is this going to roll? What am I going to do with this? How am I going to stop this water from going any further?
This is, unless I'm wrong on this, what I just heard was engineering, science, environmental education. Am I missing something here? I mean, that's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
Right? What's it?
Math.
How is it math?
Well, you're calculating volume of water going through. You're calculating percentages of change.
So there's a lot going on here. By the way, we talked, we had some one-on-one interviews as well. Tell folks about your initiative so people have a context for it, exactly what it is and how it's connected to outdoor education.
Well, our program is called the Catawba program. And
what does that stand for?
Well, it stands for People of the Water. It's a Native American term. And it really started out as just that. It was just water testing, trying to reduce, figure out ways of reducing rainwater runoff, which was, shown in the streams and waters in our area. We're right near the shore. So, and it's just grown from there. I mean, it's grown to incorporate everything we just talked about, as far as the outdoor classroom is concerned, getting kids out of the classroom, getting them into nature, help them just to see how they can take those different learning styles outdoors and start to apply them.
But John, one of the things you told us in the interview we did with you, the one-on-one we did with you, you said it actually changes somewhat the role of the teacher. The teacher no longer is lecturing, and we're not advocating that, one way or the other, but you're saying that the teacher does not lecture so much, does not just give out information, but he or she becomes more of a facilitator, correct?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's so much more freedom in an outdoor classroom than there is in a regular structured classroom. Structured classroom is managed, manipulated by the teacher to, show the kids how to learn, and everything that they do is managed step by step. Whereas the outdoor classroom, all of a sudden you open it up to all kinds of possibilities. I mean, the structured lesson plan could go out the window in the first 5 minutes if something were to happen or an observation were made outside. So
that's learning.
That is learning, because you step out of the way of the kids and you allow them to, like I said, take ownership of their own learning. I mean, what they're going to observe, what they're going to see, and what they're going to discover is basically, might not be written into your lesson plan, but it doesn't mean that you don't take advantage of the opportunity to let the kid go with it. And,
Laura, I see you shaking your head. Why?
Because it's the same for preschoolers, and I'm representing young
Describe
children.
your organization, I'm sorry.
We're Center for Family Resources. Our main office is in Ringwood, New Jersey. We service 14 districts in Passaic County.
So let me try this one on you. How is outdoor learning done for kids that age? Describe it.
It's a multisensory approach, and I've heard that before from colleagues here. If children engage all their senses, they're more apt to retain the information.
For example?
Young children need to handle rocks, plants, twigs, acorns. Children can collect rocks and maybe sort them by size or color. Teachers then will facilitate and scaffold learning to address school readiness skills, maybe putting letters on the rocks that the children could recognize, or match an uppercase A to a lowercase a. So we're getting our school readiness goals met while children experience nature.
But it's so interesting as you talk about this, Laura, because we had this conversation in the studio, and I want everyone to jump in here. I struggle with the whole question of there are standards. There are standardized tests that largely the state mandates, right? I may be evolving, who knows, with a new commissioner, Department of Education, and a new governor in our state, Governor Murphy. But we'll see. Outdoor education, outdoor learning, and its connection to these tests, because we were talking about, you're like, look, there are ways to measure this, but it may not be the traditional way of measuring things. Do I have this wrong?
No, that's correct. I wanted to point out that outdoor learning is life learning.
What do you mean?
Well, you're going to learn skills that may not be, for example, you often have a child in a classroom who says, why do I need to know this?
I've heard that at home.
Why am I learning this?
Yeah. What's the answer to that?
Well, for outdoor learning,
Yeah.
this is a life skill. This is something that's going to help you for the rest of your life. You may not be able to know immediately where this is going to come into effect, but this is something that is going to come down the line. When I was a child, you asked about, when we were talking individually,
Sure.
about my background. But long before I became a teacher, my father took me outside. He grew up in the inner city. His father's idea of wildlife were the horse races.
I got it.
But my father
your
wanted to
family,
make
I'll
sure
leave
that
alone.
I was outside as often as possible. We visited almost every national park in the country by the time I was 10.
What impact did it have on you?
I knew whatever I was going to be, it was going to be outdoors. It was going to be environmental. And almost everybody in the field who I have had experience with has had a similar background experience. Something outdoors hooked them. It doesn't take much. But once that hook is there, it's permanent. And it stays with you for the rest of your life.
And as you're talking about this, Marc, it's so powerful what you're saying right now, because I think, what about for students? And help us on this, Allison, anyone can jump in here. So many students struggle, whether they're identified or classified with attention deficit disorder or some, let's call it challenge.
Yeah.
How
I'm
does,
familiar with that.
I can give you a very personal,
I'll come back to you, I promise.
a very personal story.
Go ahead.
It was my own son, is a lot of the reason why I do what I do. Early in preschool, I noticed that he wasn't doing well in that traditional learning where he had to just know the letters and he had to learn how to read, and it was affecting his self-esteem. So, but he was a very good fisherman, and that's what me and my husband.
How did you know that, by the way? That he was a good fisherman.
My dad took me fishing when I was a child. After a while dating my husband, I said, let's stop spending money on TV and go on movies and go fishing.
Good for
and
you.
That's just since he was little. that was what we've been doing with him. That's our, our family routine. So I knew outdoors was something, he just saw things other people didn't because he spent so much time observing, and it made him more attuned, and he had something to be proud of. So I let him focus on that, and I put him in activities that were focused on that, Boy Scouts and so forth. And he eventually beat the other kids. His reading caught up. I got him the special help that he needed, but I kept his self-esteem where it needed to be to maintain him through that. So it really saved, when there's a problem with your child, it affects the whole family structure.
So outdoor education, outdoor classrooms could potentially help a student who struggles.
Absolutely.
Well, Christian, I'll come back to you, but jump in.
Yeah, I mean, I see it all the time. I mean,
As a teacher,
the kid in the classroom cannot stay in their seat. I mean, they cannot. Whether they are diagnosed with ADHD or ADD, I mean, their focus is going to be all over the place. You take them out to an outdoor classroom, and then all of a sudden, for some reason, all their other senses are engaged, so they're not going to be distracted because, I mean, outdoor is it's the overwhelming sensory experience while you're out there. So all of a sudden, that kid who cannot just stare at the board and listen to one lecture being delivered to them is, maybe they're hearing everything that's going on outside, but for some reason their focus is in on what they're doing, the task at hand.
You see real learning taking place with some of those children, those students, that would be much harder to achieve in a classroom?
No doubt about it. And not only do you see their learning start to increase, but you also see their self-esteem start to increase.
You're talking about the self-esteem piece.
Yeah, because now that kid who couldn't measure up academically to the other kids inside the classroom is now all of a sudden taking leadership on the outside of the classroom.
And how the heck do you put a price tag on that? You wanted to jump in. Go ahead. Personal experience.
As can be confirmed by everybody who's done this, yes, you'll see this immediately when you take the children outside. I mean, my own children had their own issues. My daughter, we got rid of our television set. For 17 years, we didn't even have a television set.
Including PBS.
Well,
I'll leave it alone. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But she would go into school, and a lot of the children and the teachers would ask, what did you do this weekend? What did you watch this weekend? My daughter went one day into her kindergarten classroom and said that she climbed a 100-foot waterfall.
Wow.
And we got a call from the teacher the following day saying that she's telling these awful stories about this outdoor experience that she had. And I said, what did she say? And the teacher said, well, she climbed a 100-foot waterfall. And I said, yeah, that's not right. It was 97 feet.
I had the same.
Wow. Are you serious? The teacher questioned,
Yes.
A, whether it was true, and they were horrible stories, but in fact, almost true, off by a couple of feet.
Yeah.
But that's how you should do. Real quick before you go to break, add your comment.
Same experience with my son. Same, he told stories in kindergarten, and the teachers thought he was making up tall tales. First, I thought, what's the big deal about a kindergartner making up tall tales? Then I heard what the story was, and I said, that happened over the summer. He had so much pride to tell everybody. So.
Oh, by the way, as we go right after this break, what strikes me, and I'll come back to you, Laura, is that we're hoping that parents who are watching, this is part of a Grow Up Great series that the folks at PNC have been pushing for a long time. But the reason we're doing this is to talk about the potential for children to, quote, grow up to be as great as they can be by learning in different ways, by growing in different ways, by having their self-esteem impact in different ways. So as you watch this program, not just for educational purposes, ask yourself the question, are we, as parents, doing everything we can for our children and giving them every opportunity? Stay with us. We'll be right back right after this.
To see more Caucus New Jersey with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD. And follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
Welcome back, folks. We are talking about outdoor education, outdoor learning, and particularly what parents can do to promote this. And Laura Rattel, let me ask you, what can we do to push, promote, to advocate for outdoor education, outdoor learning for our kids?
We need to educate families on how important it is. Some families may not be aware. We're working with young families, many of those young families were screen children themselves.
What does that mean?
That they were watching TV,
Okay.
They were playing video games, they're playing on a computer. And sometimes the cycle continues that the children will be doing that. And that's why we're finding obesity rates Health problems in young children that normally
Neck
wouldn't
problems
occur.
from looking down at an iPad.
And really, even occupational therapy issues with your motor, that if you're only doing this
Yes.
and not experiencing other things and grasping objects, that can be a cause for alarm in the future.
Sorry for interrupting. Let's talk about this. And again, my wife and I talk about this for our own children a lot, regarding our own children. It's one thing to say, enough with the technology, enough with the iPad, get off the iPhone. Okay, that's not a solution by itself. There needs to be an alternative, it seems to me. And so what can we do, A, in our own homes, but then also in terms of the classroom? Because I said to you, one of our sons was learning science, and frankly, he was learning facts and then having to regurgitate those facts on an exam. And then I really started asking him some questions about science, and he didn't know, but he did well on the test. The point is this: how can we as parents truly advocate, not just in schools, but do things in our own lives that instead of just saying, get off the iPad, jump in?
You have a 2.5, 3-inch screen when the environment around you is a 360-degree screen.
So we go outside and do what?
Well, there's anything you can do. Anything you can do outside that engages a person is going to be beneficial.
Can we use some concrete examples here? You go
Well,
outside.
there's also,
Take 'em to parks.
you don't have, people don't have this connection to the environment anymore. We really have locked ourselves away. My daughter had a friend who wouldn't eat the blueberries I grow in my backyard because the parents told her not to do so because they grow in the ground.
We do see
That's
that
real.
a lot.
And this connection, if you compare it to, let's say, even a century ago, when 94% of New Jersey residents either owned a farm or had a family member who did, and now it's 0.4%. So people don't even understand where their food comes from.
And that matters.
And yes, of course
That's
it
just
matters.
not learning, it's quality of life. John, jump back in here.
But not, to go back to the devices and getting the kids away
Technology.
from technology.
Handheld, whatever.
It's not, in my experience as a classroom teacher, it's not going to happen. I mean, it's just the age we're brought up in. So how
Can
do
we
we
reduce it though, and
how do we
promote outdoor?
How do we use it outdoors?
Go
I
ahead.
mean, we've created smart trails where.
Smart trails?
Yeah, and it was a totally kid-generated idea where we were working with our local nature reserve in Egg Harbor Township. A beautiful, it was an old sand pit.
This is in South Jersey,
In South
correct?
Jersey, and they built a nice hiking trails around it. The township did a wonderful job. And what the kids decided, I said, how can we get people out there? How can we advocate for nature? Talk to people about our environment, get them in touch with what's in our environment, and they created these smart trails using QR codes. So you would go out
What?
with your device. You would
QR code?
A QR code is just those little scannable codes that take you to a location on the internet, which will give you more information. And the kids created a site. They created videos. You scan a QR code. The kid pops up in the video, says, this is a white oak, and here's all the information about white oaks that you need. So all of a sudden, it became a virtual tour guide through a hike through the nature reserve. And like I said, it was the kids that did it and knew how to marry technology into the environment.
So I want to be
advocate
clear
for
here.
it.
We're learning from the kids. We actually did the same thing. The State Division of Parks and Forestry has now done online trails for all of our state parks.
So by the way, if someone
can
goes
go
on your
to any
website
one of
right
our
now,
state
how do they
parks.
find this?
You can go to the website and you'll see the link right on the website for the trails, the online trails. And it's all mapped on you can pop it on your cell phone, just as John said.
The website. So help us on this, Allison. When I raised the whole question of technology, handheld devices, iPads, iPhone, as John said, it's really not either or, clearly.
No.
You were talking about, it's a really great example, by the way, of incorporating technology into outdoor education, outdoor classrooms. Your thoughts on this?
I've seen a neat project up again, and it was in Jersey City where they had People adopt a tree.
Very
and they
urban
would-
environment.
Very urban, and where trees, aren't, there's not as many. So they would tweet for the trees.
Tweet for the trees.
And
Go
they would
ahead.
have the trees speak. Oh, it's cold out here. It was very cute. People really got invested in this, and they just had a tree, and that tree would speak all year round.
And so they use
They
technology
did
to
get the word out about the importance. Yeah, absolutely.
So it isn't just a question of whether a student is using technology. It's a question of how that student uses technology and whether it's engaged or involved in something useful, correct?
We don't embrace a lot of technology in our centers with young children. We have computers and things like that, but we limit it.
They're not appropriate. What we're talking about is not appropriate for kids. How old, by the way?
Birth to 5.
Not appropriate.
So they need real objects, and that's why the outdoors is so great. I'm hoping that young children will be ambassadors for outdoor learning and tell their parents, we want to go play outside. And we're hoping that parents will get past the risk factors of getting dirty or getting ticks or poison ivy, or maybe they're living in an unsafe neighborhood,
Can
but,
that happen with parents?
Oh, yes.
parents say a lot of things about against the outdoors.
Oh, what? Okay, hold on.
They're scared.
Scared
Yeah,
of the outdoors
They've been out of it for so long.
as
that-
students.
Just as adults,
In general.
if you spend too much time away from the outdoors, you tend to forget you have to get back out there. You definitely see that with parents.
There's stranger danger, there's
Absolutely.
Stranger danger.
Stranger danger is when you're afraid of the people that you might encounter on the street. That you don't know what somebody might do. I mean, we talk about these people who might abduct a child or something like that.
Well, let's in all candor, let me play devil's advocate. How do we, in fact, protect our children in outdoor classrooms, outdoor learning environments, so that we really ensure that they are not at risk? Let's be candid about this. Because there are parents watching right now and say, yeah, in theory, great. But I am concerned, and let's talk about the protections.
I think
Most of the schools that we've dealt with have the facility on their property.
Right on the property.
Right on the property. And if it's not directly on the property, it's usually a public property that's located next door, so they don't have to cross a major highway. But most of them are right on the property. And there are schools throughout the entire state of New Jersey that have outdoor learning centers, outdoor classrooms,
Is it happening
school
more and more?
gardens. Yes, it's happening more and more. We're getting calls all the time from schools that are saying, we want to try
At
this,
the
we want to
DEP.
do this. Yes. They also get, there's a program called Sustainable Jersey for schools.
Sustainable Jersey for schools. Go ahead.
Which is a statewide program. It's affiliated with the Sustainable Jersey program for municipalities. And there are hundreds of schools that are parts of this program. And one of the things that they do is they get points for an outdoor classroom setting.
Sure.
And those points then will add up. And if they get a certain number of points, what happens is the Sustainable Jersey for Schools, they can reach a certain goal. You're familiar with this as well. And I believe
They
you
become
are also,
recognized.
you're recognized
Yep.
as well.
Got a few seconds left, go ahead.
They get the opportunities to have other grants and other initiatives.
You qualify for other opportunities.
Yes.
John, I'm going to give you a chance here. When we talked in our one-on-one conversation, it struck me how passionate you are about this. Would you be as passionate if you were inside all the time teaching?
No.
You're sure about that?
I'm positive. I mean, look, the biggest pay for a teacher is, of course, the reaction of the kids that you're teaching. All right, so that's the payoff. I mean, that's every teacher will say that, but you can't get the payoff from doing the same thing day in and day out. And I don't care how good you are in the classroom and how you can vary the lessons. You're still stuck within four walls, and there's only so much that you're going to keep bringing into the classroom. And it just strikes me as ludicrous for a teacher to bring the environment into the classroom. I brought some leaves in. I brought a frog in and I put it in a tank. Why not to go out? I mean, it's there. The resources are there to build them. I mean, any school that doesn't have them, you find a couple of passionate teachers, they're bound to find the resources.
Teachers can drive this. Parents can drive it, and students can drive it.
And that's where they're all created. I mean, everything that we've created has been student-driven, student ownership, and like I said, I'm just a scavenger who can go and get you the resources you need to start building. I'll find you the
help you
dirt.
find those resources.
Exactly.
The Department, the state's involved in this.
As always.
New Jersey Audubon's involved. The Center for Family Resources is involved. And also thank you to all the teachers who are out there doing this every day on behalf of the public schools. I can't thank you all enough. A great public service. Well done.
To see more Caucus New Jersey with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD. And follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato. The preceding program has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of Caucus New Jersey has been provided by the PNC Foundation, the Turrell Fund, supporting Right from the Start NJ, the New Jersey Education Association, Berkeley College, Choose New Jersey, the law firm of Gibbons, P.C., and by Verizon. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. Caucus New Jersey has been produced in partnership with TriStar Studios.
Education begins at birth. The brain develops most rapidly from birth to age 3, when critical skills are developed. Parents are the first and best teachers for their children, but for those like me who work, finding quality, affordable childcare can be challenging. But children have the greatest opportunities for success when they learn and have positive interactions with their caregivers. Because learning doesn't start in the classroom, it starts in the cradle.